guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new entitled people content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is an entitled people story. Let me begin by saying that I understand how important it is to maintain a clean and odor-free front garden. As a responsible pet owner, I have made it a habit to clean up after my furry companion, Charlie, a 4-year-old Cocker Spaniel. Every day, I let him out in the morning and evening for his toilet routine, and I always make sure to collect his poop before it accumulates and becomes a nuisance. Despite my efforts, my neighbor still complained about the presence of dog poop in my garden. I found this odd since I always made sure to clean up after Charlie and never let him cross the boundary of where our gardens met, which was indicated by a row of bushes. Nevertheless, I collected what little poop was there and disposed of it properly. The following week, my neighbor complained again, but this time they made a threat to hurt my beloved dog if he continued to poop in my garden. I was taken aback by this statement and stood my ground. I explained that Charlie has a right to use my garden and that I had done everything I could to ensure that his poop did not affect my neighbor's property. Despite my efforts to reason with them, my neighbor's hostility continued to escalate, and they made my life miserable by throwing shade at me and making snide remarks every day. After months of this treatment, I decided to take matters into my own hands and declare war on my neighbors. I did some research and discovered that they were quite OCD about their property's appearance. They took great pride in their backyard, which they mowed every week and painted to match their fence's color. Using this information to my advantage, I started off small by painting my fence gate bright pink, which was a stark contrast to their fence. My neighbor hated it so much that they begged me to change it back to the original color. I obliged, hoping that this small concession would bring peace between us. Unfortunately, their hostility continued, and I knew I had to come up with a more devious plan to get back at them. I devised a plan to plant over 5,000 dandelion seeds in their front and back garden under the cover of night. I strategically planted them in areas that were difficult to mow, ensuring that they would be difficult to get rid of. I knew that dandelions were notorious for spreading quickly, and it wouldn't take long for their garden to be overrun with these pesky weeds. Sure enough, 3 months later, my neighbor's garden was covered in dandelions. They grew through the slabbing and were scattered all over the garden. It took my neighbor over 3 days to clear the weeds and cost them around £100 for weed killer. In the end, my neighbor learned their lesson and stopped their harassment towards me and my dog. They finally understood that there was no reason for them to threaten Charlie or make my life miserable because of a few piles of dog poop. While I don't condone revenge, I believe that sometimes it's necessary to stand up for yourself and your loved ones, especially when someone is trying to bully you. As an update, since then, my neighbor and I have reconciled and are now on better terms. We have even agreed to share a fence and work together to maintain the appearance of our gardens. I'm glad that I stood my ground and took action against their bullying, but I'm even happier that we were able to move past it and become good neighbors. The next story is titled Your Trash Cans May Only Be Out at Specific Times. We live in Anwa, and if you don't, lucky you. We have never had any real problems. They don't do much other than make sure the park and gardens look good. Anyhow, for whatever reason, they decided to add a new rule. It wasn't needed, but I guess they got bored and wanted something to do. Maybe someone kept leaving their trash cans out all week. Fine, just ask them not to. It's not that hard. The new rule states when trash cans can be put out. They can't be out before 6 a.m. on Wednesdays and must be put back before 6 p.m. the same day. This is obviously stupid and has a few problems. First of all, some people use a different company. The WA provided one goes on Wednesday and it's cheap so most people use it, but you don't have to. Some people have theirs go Monday or Tuesday. Also, a lot of people here work in the medical field and just aren't home during those times. So no one is there to put out or bring in cans. So, a few of us got together on how to comply, but be annoying about it. We decided to comply with their set times as best we can. Take it out at 6 when a lot of us go to work or go for a morning walk, and take it back in at 6 since most of us are home. Some of us help by taking others' bins to the street if they're at work. But, when it is time to take out the trash, do it as loud as ducking possible. Bin has wheels? Drag it. Got it to the street, make sure it's firmly placed on the street. Need to take out other bag? slap it in there and let the lid slam shut. For those who have trash go out on other days, comply with the times, but do in on your trash day. Then, also put them out on Wednesday as required. If you can, leave trash in them and leave the lid open to it would bake in the sun all day. Yes, it did smell like hot trash. That's the point. After 3 weeks of this, an email was sent out. The rule was thrown out, and we were all simply asked to put out and take in our cans within a reasonable amount of time, preferably on trash day. Was it really that ducking hard to ask nicely? Why not just address whoever was the problem? Know that, because an WA rule was changed, a lawyer was paid to look over it before the CC&R could be updated. That means this stupid rule cost every resident money. Anyhow, we are already planning on voting out one member of the board who we know is the problem come the summer election. The next story is entitled Mom Steals My iPad and Demands I Let Her Kid Keep It. Hello y'all, long-time lurker first-time poster. My boyfriend's power is out so I have no one else to vent to, so please listen to my tale of woe. I work at a car dealership as a receptionist, one of my duties being greeting customers when they enter. I am a professional artist on the side and I've been busy with some commissions lately, so since it's not busy at the dealer, I started working on my iPad mini. It's old and I'm working on upgrading, but I currently can't afford to, so I live with it despite the battery life being really short and I have to basically keep it plugged in at all times. During my lunch I was in the waiting area doing more work when a kid, a little girl no older than 4, came up and watched me work. This happens a lot when I draw in public and usually the kids just ask a lot of questions, but this nice girl, was very quiet and just had a look of amazement, so I just let her be. Her mother, the M in the story, was nearby at a salesman's desk working on purchasing a new car, which is a long and no doubt boring process. The salesman working with her walked away, which at my dealership they do very often to retrieve paperwork, talk to the sales, finance managers, etc. She looks over at me and her kid and asks her, "What are you looking at?" Her kid points at my screen and says, "She's painting puppies." I was working on Twitch emotes of a streamer's dog. I sort of show my screen to M and she then asks her kid if she wants to draw, which the girl excitedly said yes. I expected M to pull out a paper and pencils or at least ask if I can get some for her too, but she just looked at me expectantly. When I realized she was waiting for me to hand her my iPad, I said, "Oh, she can't use mine, but I can get her a notepad and pens," but apparently that wasn't good enough. She sighs and says, "Just let her draw a little bit, I'm almost done here anyway," which I knew for a fact wasn't true. They were waiting on bank approval for a loan, which can take anywhere between 5 to 30 minutes, and even then they'll be here longer for finance paperwork, detailing, etc. I start to explain that this is part of my work and she scoffs, saying I'm just doodling puppies and it was selfish that I wouldn't let Ing doodle on my device too. Poor Ing was just looking at her hands, looking quite embarrassed. I then pretended my lunch was over and got up to spend the rest of my lunch at my desk. I couldn't see her behind a huge truck on display, but I can hear her grumble to Ing about who knows what. Whatever, pretend like I didn't hear so I don't mess up this sale for my coworker. Sometime later, nature called me and I got up to use the restroom. I left my iPad on my seat so it'll stay plugged in and put a notepad over it to try to cover it up somehow. My desk is a wide crescent shape with no drawers to keep my things safe, so this was the best I could do to somewhat hide it. I was in the restroom no longer than 3 minutes, but when I got back, only my charger remained. My iPad and Apple Pencil were gone. I looked over to the lady, who had her large purse suspiciously in her lap now instead of on the floor beside her chair like it was before. I was panicked because a lot of my work is on that iPad that I needed. I went to my sales manager, SM, and told him the situation. He told me he would take care of it, but to be patient for now. I went back to my desk full of anxiety and my stomach doing backflips. SM went to the desk where M was to work out the deal. They're far enough that I can hear their voices but not pinpoint what they're saying, but I did hear her eventually yell, "How dare you? I would never steal. Do you want to lose this sale?" I immediately got up and went over behind the lady so SM could see me, but she couldn't. He tells her he understands, but my iPad went missing and he wants to make sure no one currently in the building has it. That's when I remembered the Find My feature on all Apple products. My iPad was connected to the Deaker's Wi-Fi, so I pulled out my iPhone and pressed play sound for my iPad. Her purse started dinging. She tried to play it off as if it's her ringtone and SM stared at her, as if daring her to answer it. Thing is, with the play sound feature, if I keep pressing it, it will keep pinging. I made my presence known and told her to give my iPad back. That's when she stopped playing dumb and just said, "Just let Ing have it. Her birthday is coming up and I can't afford a present for her since I'm getting this car." SM said he was happy to cancel the deal so she can instead buy a birthday present for her child and to return my iPad or he'll call the police. She practically threw my iPad at me, where it hit me in the gut, and took Ing from the waiting area to leave. Poor thing looked at me with the most apologetic look on her face before leaving with her mother. SM might have helped me, but he's not exactly the nicest person. From now on, I'm not allowed to bring my iPad to the dealer. I have to either leave it in my car or leave it at home. Whatever. M took my Apple Pencil with her since she left in a hurry, so I'm gonna stop by the Apple store after work to get a new one, but until then I'm stuck with my pens and notepad. The next story is titled Guest Requests Comp Stay because her credit card declined. Ends up getting her friend charged $850. Long one, but worth the read. Guest attempted to check in around 3 p.m. into a prepaid reservation. Despite it being prepaid, we have a $300 security deposit that is mandatory. Her card was declining for the deposit, so we could not check her in. Guest left the hotel around 4 p.m., and ended up coming back with her friend around 11 p.m. Her friend spent $100 on an Uber to come to our hotel and put his card down for the deposit so she could check in. Then had to Uber back for another $100. That's a good friend right there. The next morning, she brought me down a piece of paper filled top to bottom with her demands. First, she wanted her entire stay comped. Second, she wanted additional comped nights in the future. Lastly, she wanted comped room service and breakfast. Her reasoning? We didn't let her check in due to her card declining. Her. So, what do you think? Me. We can't comp things for you because your card declined. That is not an error on our part. Her. Oh, so you're basically just blaming me then. Me. I'm not blaming you for anything, I'm simply stating that it is not the hotel's fault that your card declined. Her. I had to wait hours since I couldn't check in. Me. You couldn't check in because your card declined. Her. My friend had to spend $200 on Uber to come here. He lives very far away but he came all the way here to put his card down for me. All this trouble for a deposit. Me. He had to do that because your card was declining. Her. Yeah, okay, everything is my fault. Me. What would you expect the hotel to do in a situation where your card is declining? If we don't have your card on file then we can't check you in. It is not our fault that your card was declining. Her. I am a movie producer from London, my card declined because I'm traveling. Me. I don't doubt that, but again, we can't give you comp things because your card declined. Her. Oh, and I guess that I'm such a horrible person and everything is my fault because my card declined. Me. I didn't say that. She then left the front desk. Luckily, that day was her checkout date so we wouldn't have to deal with her much longer. Or so I thought. Her. I'd like a late checkout. Me. Unfortunately I cannot offer you a late checkout. Her. Why? Me. Because we are booked tonight. Me. Every single room? Me. Yep. Hangs up. At 11 a.m., security informs me that the guest is outside speaking to different guests. I walk out there, and other guests tell me that the crazy lady is bothering them. As I walk up to her, she was sitting with 2 random guests. Me. Excuse me gentlemen, is everything okay? Anybody bothering you? Them. It's fine, we're okay. Her. The only person bothering them is you. Me. So you guys are sure everything's good? Them. Yeah, it's fine. Her. Bye. You can go now. Me. Remember, checkout time is 12 inches. I start walking away, then turn around and say, oh, and if another guest complains about you bothering them, you will be kicked out of the pool. Eventually, 12 p.m. checkout time hits. I make sure that security goes to her room first as part of due outs. They inform me that her bags are all over the room, however, she is not there. We do smell cigarette smoke coming from the room, and an inspection reveals that she had been smoking extensively in the room. That is a $500 fee. I authorize $500 on her friend's card since that is the only one we have on file. 1 p.m. hits, then 2 p.m., and the guest does not come back to the hotel until 6 p.m. I post a $300 late checkout fee to her room as well. With the smoking fee, late checkout fee, and resort fee, the total we have placed on her friend's card is $850. When she came back to the hotel, we told her that we cannot release her items to her until we get a signature by the cardholder accepting these charges. The guest threw a fit, screamed that she is bringing the media and the press to the hotel, then left. The next day, I get a call from her friend asking why he was charged $850. I inform him of everything, and he is shocked. He said that she is having a midlife crisis right now and her mental space is not normal right now. He then said that this $850 charge is outrageous. He said he didn't know what he was signing up for when he put his card down. I told him that putting his card down for her was essentially him taking responsibility for her reservation. I explained that I feel bad about it, but charging his card was not my decision. I also said that since we couldn't release her items to her, her bags are still in the room. The card on file will continue to be charged for each day the bags remain in the room, and we will only move the bags out of the room once we get an authorization form signed for the charges. He said he will gladly pay the $350 for the late checkout fee and all that, but said the $500 smoking fee is too much. He said if he is charged $850 he'll open a dispute. I asked the GM and the most we could do is offer 50% off on the smoking fee. Instead of $850 charged, it was now $500. I emailed him back letting him know, and per the GM, mentioned that even if he gets it disputed with his credit card company, the hotel will still pursue payment in court. He ended up accepting and signed an authorization form accepting the charges to his card. We then went to her room and put all her items in a bag. She ended up coming to pick them up at 3 a.m. We told her to wait outside and we will send someone out to give it to her as she was not allowed on the property. Overall, I felt very bad for the friend. He Ubered a great distance to come put his card down for his friend. She ended up getting him on the hook for $850, and his first instinct was to compliment her character and explain to me that she is just dealing with a mental illness right now. But it is what it is, the hotel had to do what it had to do. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and post some bear emojis in the comments.